Hi everyone. This is a little bit different than usual. This is not really a tutorial, but I thought I thought there would be a tutorial this week, and I was going to do that in that tutorial. But since we don't, I hope this will be a short video, just pointing out a few details about the report, and I hope it helps. Otherwise, we will also have consultations next week too. So first of all, if you guys not paying attention to the announcements, we have a quiz 5 that just became available this week, and it's due on the 9th of June. Don't forget to do this one because it's still part of your marks. Second, we have don't forget to leave a CCAT or for the course and Eric, and an SE tutor for the tutors that you think were helpful. In my case, if you think these videos were helpful, please leave a review there. This is the link. There's a QR code, and if by any chance you cannot access, let us know. But yeah, next, what we're here for. Report 2 will be due on the 5th of June. That's the due date here. And in general, you will see we're going to be using multiple equations models, right, for both questions, which is what we covered in week 10, which we didn't have a tutorial, and then we covered in week 11, 12, for which we have tutorials. It means you have 2 weeks of code to have a look at in general, but there is a little bit more to it that I wanted to go through. This is all standard, but let's go. First, the data set. It's a little bit different. I want you to pay attention that we will have, particularly in this part, we will have 1 extra year. Your report 1 had data until 2021, and now we're adding 1 extra year to it. So you will have to pay attention what type of data you're using for each of your analysis. What else do I want to say about it? I think that's it. That's the only thing. There should be 4 extra rows. Okay, let's go now to question 1. You're doing a forecast, and you're doing more than 1 forecast. So first part, use the data provided for the subsample period of 1990 until 2021. Okay, pay attention to it because your data set goes until 2022, etc. So to do the forecast of CPI inflation. Another thing, we're using multiple equations for this whole report. Okay, so don't forget that. So to forecast inflation for 2022 and 2023. In other words, repeat the exercise from report 1, question 1, but this time using multiple equations. Please describe all potential sources of uncertainty. So if I'm marking this question and I look and I see that your forecast starts at the end of 2022, I know that you're using the wrong thing. So pay attention to it for this first one. Second, use the observed CPI inflation data for 2022 to qualitatively evaluate and compare forecasts that you did for this tutorial. We're using multiple equations, and you did for tutorial 1 using just 1 equation. So now the observed CPI inflation that you used is actually those last 4 values we have for inflation. There's 4 rows in our data set. We will compare the forecasts, both of which we use data until 2021 to make this comparison, see and make some conclusions which one forecasts better or than the other. Did one work better than the other one, or etc. Finally, you're doing another one using the data set until 2022. So now, just at the third part, you're using the whole data set you have in this new data set. So everything until 2022 to forecast 2023. So there will be something different there, right? It's not only the data set that changes, but I would say the amount, the length of your forecast should be different. How do these forecasts change relative to the produced for the same period, but only using data up to 2021 Q4? Pay attention. I think this will be a little bit of the challenge, is to see if you're paying attention to the limits and comparing things with each other. General thing with each question. As I mentioned last week, we received some reports. Some of them were more than 11,000 words. I don't think, although there's no problem with it, I don't think you need that many words. So usually I think 1,000, maybe 2,000 words should be enough for you to answer one question. So feel free to do either way. It's up to you. Pay attention that also we don't have a motivation in this one as part of the criteria. We're more focused on motivations out of the way, and now we're more focused on evaluation and comparison here. This is new, and this is maybe something that you might spend some more words and some more time doing, trying to do well. So bring the forecast that you had from the previous report. I would suggest it will make a lot easier to interpret if you can at least have the plot that you had in the first report back to this one. Another thing, I think you guys already have an idea, but when we were marking, we have like 5 to 10 minutes to spend on it. So we're definitely not going back to the other tutorial or the report to see how it was done. We will get what you put in your report. So it will make our lives a lot easier if you have the previous plots in there. And also, if you have maybe 5,000 words, it means we will pass really quickly through the text, looking for the things that we really need. But I thought, well, I think these are my suggestions for question 1. Just want to add it 2 tiny things there. For the forecast plots, you will notice Eric put it there. We won't be subtracting marks if you're not able to add an x-axis to it this time. It's because when we're dealing with plots for these VAR models, it is just a little bit more annoying. It's not really friendly to work with. I did work around a little thing here. It's not perfect, but you will see on Add Discussion, there's a link here on how I did. And let me go very quickly through it. This is the same plot we have in tutorial 11. It's the same, but I added this axis here first. We added this x(a)(xt) equals to n to remove whatever they're going to plot. It was actually just accounting, just numbers. Then you add the axis, and this position is position 0. This is position 1. So starting, this is telling you it's the x-axis, and then I first create a sequence. So what I'm doing with this first part is I'm dividing from 0 to 0.97, not 1, and I'm doing 0.97 because our forecast ends here instead of ending at the end. I did start putting 1, but then some points didn't make sense. Then I'm sequencing this interval by 0.97 times. I put a 4 here because we have quarters, and I just want to print the years, not the quarter. So it's 4 divided by the diff of xlim. This difference of xlim is just xlim2, which is the length of date plus horizon, minus xlim1, which is length of date minus 3 times horizon. So pretty much here, horizon was equals to 12. This is length date plus 1 horizon. This is length date minus 3 horizons. 3 plus 1, I think, video order will be 4. 4 times 12, 48. The number that is coming out here is just 48. 4 divided by 48 is 1 over 12. Then I'm multiplying 0.97, which is the difference between 0 and 0.97. This is all that is going on here, a little bit of mathematics going on there. I'm creating these positions, And in those positions, I'm putting the labels, which is another sequence from 1992 to 2004 for the last one. And I'm increasing these guys one by one. If I wanted to increase, actually the plot was smart and subtracted some versions of it. Let me see. Subtracted the odd numbers, and well, it will do it for you depending on the size of your plot, but I think this is how it works. Let's say if you wanted 2 by 2, maybe I would put it I would add an 8 here instead of a 4, or a 4 times 2. So pretty much the length of this sequence has to be the same length of this sequence, but that's it. So if you don't want to spend time on it, feel free to just leave the numbers the way they are. For this one, we won't be subtracting points. Okay. I think that's it for question 1. Let's go to question 2. So first, use the data provided to compute possible effects of monetary policy on the economy using our multiple equations model, right? We're using var and backend. In particular, consider a one-time structural shock to cash rate and analyze the dynamic effects of such a shock on CPI inflation and unemployment rate. So it's a one-time structural shock to cash rate. I got a few questions before. So what should you do? How to model? It's a little bit different from report 1, which we will have to compare. Report 1 had you looking at, let me see, report 1. I don't think I have it open here. I apologize. Did I close it? I did close it. Okay. So report 1 had you looking at cumulative. Let me open it there. Report 1. You will notice a little bit of difference. So first, it wasn't a one-time shot. This is just to make sure. I hope, let me share my screen again, because last time when I opened something new, it stopped sharing. Hopefully you guys can see now. For question 2, it's looking for increases by 1% and remains at the new level thereafter. This is one type of shock that goes up and continues. Another type of shock is the one that we have. It's a one-time structural shock. I don't think you need to worry because the tutorial is already dealing with this type of shock. So don't worry too much about it. I got a few questions. What else? You should consider possible effects that may result in look at the short run, medium run, and long run. You had it in a previous tutorial, previous report. In answering these questions, please consider implications for policy, and in doing so, describe the various sources of uncertainty that might affect these implications. What else? Uncertainty in general. Now, don't forget, it comes in the next page. In addition, please compare the dynamic effects of CPI, on CPI inflation obtained from multiple equations model. So what we did in report 2, comparing to report 1. Please consider how results compare across different classes and models using the same sample. This is important. So in this case, consider how compare different classes of models using the same sample. Also consider how results compare when obtained from the full sample, 2022. Okay, so pay attention that it's asking you 2 different things here. Don't forget about it, and relative to those obtained for the shortest sample. And then the breakdown of the marks, it's the same. There's no marks for motivation anymore, which might save you some time. I don't know. And there will be estimation and testing. There will be assumption and identifying restrictions, which I wanted to call your attention. So if perhaps you were like, I think just tutorial 11 should be enough. It's most of the things that will come from tutorial 11 are like, I don't think I need to look at tutorial 12. Maybe I have bad news for you, because we only deal with restrictions and identifying restrictions with tutorial 12. So don't forget to have a look at it. What else? Interpretation. And the last thing I wanted to say is an advice that I just answered. I just left there. You might struggle to have all the plots at the same time and in front of you to analyze, particularly the impulse response functions, which we tend to generate a lot of them. So if you have a look at add, I gave you an advice of how to use an example of R code, to use that R markdown. So you can print all your plots at the same time, and they will look like that. You will have the IRFs, many of them in the same page, because you're adding this out width. So I'm telling my output to be just 33% of the size that it was supposed to be. If you put 50%, you'll have a row with 2 plots, probably fit 6 in a page. But if you put 33%, it fits quite a lot more. So I think it's 3 columns and 6 rows, if I'm not mistaken. It fits quite a few of them in the screen. So just a suggestion. You can also analyze some other way, and you can print it somewhere. But for me, I found it quite useful to put my code in R Markdown and print it to a PDF. So you could do some analysis depending on the multiples you're using, the multiples you have. For example, for the tutorial, it was pretty useful to have 3 in a row, because we were combining 6 models. So in a single screen like that, single plot, you would be able to see all the models, how they look like for a response of X variable to a shocking Y variable. Okay, so these are pretty much some the advice I wanted to leave you guys with. I hope that helps. Good luck with your report. And once again, we still have consultations next week. Most of them will be, I think, Wednesday and Thursday. Mine won't be on Friday, will be on Wednesday. So feel free to attend if you have any questions. Good luck with it, and enjoy your weekend.